Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the Dattie podcast. I am here today with Damien Daigle from Barber Ink Studios down in North Carolina. How's it going, Dame?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. So, Dame, where'd you grow up?
Man, I grew up in Louisiana, small town, one stoplight, everybody knows everybody kind of place.
Like a real rural southern town, like stereotypical town, like what you think of when you think of the South?
Yeah, man. So basically, my elementary, my middle, and my high school was all in one building.
Wow.
So
Wow.
small town. Got to drive an hour to go to Walmart. Small.
Wow. What did your family do for work?
I grew up mainly with different family members, but mainly like uncles, aunts, and it's more of like working in the plants. Like the refinery stuff like that.
Like oil refinery? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was it like being a Louisiana kid down there?
Man, I grew up poor, man. I didn't come from much, so it's just country, just outside playing all the time, not in the house like our kids probably are, well, like mine anyway.
Yeah.
Didn't come from a whole lot, man. So we were just outside playing all the time.
I love to hear that. I love to hear people who are doing really well. You're obviously doing really well. That come from very humble beginnings, because that means you earned everything you have.
For sure.
And you've been coming up pretty strong since I've seen you, and your rise from going from barber, and we'll get into a barber, to SMP artist.
Yeah.
So did you actually go to the same school from elementary school to 12th grade?
Pretty much, man. I was off and on because I kind of bounced around between different family members, but for the most part, this small town, Jackson, Louisiana, is where I spent most of the time at.
Okay.
I did go to a few different ones, but for mostly that was that one.
Quick question. How far away is that from? I used to watch that show, Swamp People. I was a big fan. Shoot him! Shoot him! How far is that? Yeah.
But man, you're looking at probably a couple hours from the swamp area for real.
Okay. But did you see gators and shit growing up?
Yeah. Not necessarily in my immediate area, but we definitely seen them.
Okay. So you're growing up in Louisiana. When did you decide to join the Army?
Man, in high school, senior in high school, 17, that recruiter caught me after a football game, man, and I know you was in the Navy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, man. So the recruiter caught me after the football game, and I just kind of was just going through the motions. I had no intentions on joining the military. Like, yeah, man, I'll talk to you. You can come over to the house. And before you know it, I'm out of high school and I'm signed up, done went to MEPS and everything. And that was my way out of small town Louisiana.
Yeah, I was poor. I was like, my mom's going to pay for school. I wasn't mentally prepared to go to college at that time anyway. I just wanted to get away. So you're kind of like that. You just wanted to get away.
Yeah, I didn't come from nothing, man. So college wasn't an option, not unless I was getting scholarships. And the way my grades looked, that wasn't happening. So it was military, man. Military, or probably at home doing who knows what. Probably working in the plants with everybody else, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, no, smart. And you did 20 years, right?
No. I actually did 6 years.
6 years.
I got medically retired about 6 years in. So I had back surgery, and that got me out retired medically, but I still have all my benefits like a 20-year retiree.
Yeah, that actually happened to my friend. He was, and I'll ask you, but for my friend, his name is Anton. Shout out to Anton. He worked in the Air Force, and he was somehow allergic to the chemicals, and he got really bad eczema. And they retired him after 6 or 7 years, like you did, the 20 years. How did the back injury occur?
Man, I don't even know, man. I just woke up one day and my back was hurting. And then you know how the military does, or at least in the Army, they slow walked everything. I'm going to the doctor. They don't know what's wrong. They're giving you medication. They're going to give you a shot in the back. They're going to send you to physical therapy, then pain management. Then after everything doesn't work, they'll finally give you an MRI. And then once I finally got the MRI, they was like, oh, man, you need surgery immediately. So about a week after my MRI, I was having back surgery. I had herniated disc, 2 herniated discs in my lower back, and I honestly don't even know what caused it. Just everyday military, I don't know, activities.
For people who don't know, a herniated disc is very painful. Oh, so you're walking around like that?
Yeah, man, that pain going from that lower back all the way down to your leg. Can't even take a full step, can't bend over. It was just painful. And that was I had back surgery at 21, I think, 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 21, 22, and I was medically retired a year later.
Wow. What was your job in the Army?
So I was in logistics, man, transportation management. So that was my official title, 88 November Transportation Management Coordinator, basically shipping and receiving, land, rail, air, sea, cargo, passengers, whatever. We just coordinated the movements.
Did you
Tracking
drive?
cargo.
Did you drive any vehicles?
No, I mean I did, but it wasn't my primary job. So I'm the one that gave the guys the manifest and told them where to drive it to and made sure it got there.
Okay. And what so you were in, I'm assuming, during the Iraq-Afghan war. Did you have to go over there at all?
No, man, I didn't actually have to go. I joined in '06 after high school, and I went to
Okay.
Korea for a couple of years. After Korea for 2 years, I was in Virginia for like 3.5, and then that's when ended up getting hurt before I ever got to deploy overseas. What about you? Did you make it overseas?
No, I was lucky. I was on the Navy. You know, we were singing YMCA and swabbing the deck.
Oh man, that's the stereotype for sure.
So you graduated high school in '06?
Yes.
Yeah, I was '05. So we were the
Okay.
last generation to go through without social media. Luckily,
They-
you know.
yeah, social media was on the scene pretty much around that time. MySpace was hitting. You know,
Yeah.
I met my wife on MySpace in Korea in 2007.
Who you're married to right now?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's amazing,
man.
actually.
Been
So
together
you were
since
just
she was
sitting in
18.
Korea. You were in Korea talking to her, and then you're like, hey, when I get back, I'm gonna, we gotta
No,
meet
I
up.
met her in Korea. She was there.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
so my wife was a dependent. Her dad was stationed there, so her and her family was there. So we kind of met over there on base in Seoul, Korea, in a base called Yongsan. So we met over there, man, and been together ever since.
Wow.
Back in
Congrats to both of
2007.
you. Wow.
Appreciate it. You know, just like anything, has ups and downs, but here we are 16 years later.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And so how long had she been living there before you met her?
She was probably there like a year and a half before I met her. She was there a total of 2 years too. So I
Okay.
met her, and then we were together for probably a few months, and then she got sent back to the States with her dad. So we were long distance for a while. We were long
Okay.
distance about 5 years between the Army and her being in college and everything.
Wow. Very interesting.
Crazy, man.
Uh,
Young and in love, man. Crazy.
did she grow up in the South as well?
Yeah, she's from North Carolina originally, man, but she's a military brat. Moved all over the world.
Is
Lived
that why
everywhere.
you ultimately ended up in North Carolina?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
man.
her family or something?
Yeah, man. So they ended up moving to Fayetteville by Fort Bragg. That's where her dad got stationed. And then she was going to college in North Carolina. I got out the Army. She was in North Carolina. I was in Virginia, so I just moved over this way. So we were in Fayetteville for a few years where Fort Bragg is. I was out there, went to barber school, started cutting hair, and then moved to Charlotte to get to a bigger city.
See, that was gonna be one of my questions, but you already I thought maybe you had started cutting hair in the Army, because that is a job for people who don't know that, being a
Yeah.
barber in the military. So when you got out, you were like, "I'm not gonna do logistics. I don't wanna do this shit." You decided to barber?
I went to a few job interviews, man. On Fort Bragg, went to a few job interviews. I shot way too high. I'm interviewing for GS 12 and 13 positions, and I got on as an E5, and they're like, "Man, you're supposed to be a colonel with these positions." Not interviewing for these positions. I was shooting too high. Before you know it, I just ended up in barber school.
That's great. Hey, at least you tried. You're going out
Yeah, I
there.
went to a couple job interviews, and I was like, "Nah, I don't know if this is for me, man. I'm not really the working type. Like as far as working for someone, I've never had a traditional job like ever. So I don't even know if that would ever even work."
So what was it like going to barber school? I mean, did you have, like, in Delaware, you have to do, I don't know, 1,000 free hours or something like that?
Yeah. So North Carolina is 1528, 1,528 hours to get your barber certification. Once you get your hours, you go take the test and then you get your license. But it took me pretty much 11 months, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Dang.
Almost a full year. Yep. And not
That had to
finishing.
have been rough. That had to have been rough just because do you get tips or anything?
Honestly, man, I went to this, I don't know, hood school. I didn't learn much of nothing in the school, man. It's pretty much learning on your own.
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't learn how to cut there. It was trial and error, man. I really learned. I learned how to cut in school. At some point, I'm cutting everybody in the school, and then I ended up in the barber shop, and that's where I really started getting good.
Where was your original barbershop or the first barbershop you worked at?
Fayetteville, right outside of Fort
Fayetteville?
Bragg. Yep, right
Okay.
outside of base, which was good for me because when it comes to military guys, you're gonna have everybody. So every hair texture, every race, every nationality came through the barbershop. So I was ready for it all by the time I
And they
left
need
base.
it weekly, and they need it,
Oh yeah,
they
yeah.
gotta get it.
Sunday was my busiest day because they had to get fresh before Monday morning formation. Sunday was my busiest day.
Oh, that's great.
So when
So
it
you're
came to
probably making a
phones, I
bunch of
cut
money.
everything.
Do you, now, when did you move from, being outside a military base? Did you ever open up your own shop, or how did that go?
So I came to Charlotte in 2016 or 2015, and then I got my own like barber suite in 2016 in a spot called Salon Lofts, and I was there for about 6 years before I moved to my Barber Ink Studios location. So I had the suite at Salon Lofts. I had another barber in the suite with me. So basically a small shop with 2 chairs, and then I ended up getting into the SMP industry, and I got another suite in the building. So I was paying for 2 suites, man, and then the amount of rent that you're paying for 2 of them, I might as well come get a building. So that's what I ended up doing.
Well, congrats on that, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Now, do you still cut hair? Are you doing SMP full time, or do you still take haircuts?
Yeah, man. So SMP is full time. I transitioned probably about after a year doing SMP. I transitioned into doing it full time. I do cut hair 1 day a week on Fridays, and that's just for the very loyal customers that's been with me since I've been here for 8, 9 years. So I cut probably 8 to 10 heads a week, and same people every week, same haircut. And I cut off 95% or more of my clientele just to take care of those people on Friday.
Did you have to raise your prices for those people on Friday?
Yeah, the prices definitely went up because it's more of a, it's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Service?
Definitely the service. It's just more high end because of my location, my building.
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah.
things I offer, and then on top of that, I'm only cutting them. I'm not cutting anybody else. I'm not accepting new clients. So yeah,
And
definitely
they
have to pay for it.
and they obviously know that you don't, you're pretty much doing SMP now, so
Yeah.
you're doing this more like as a favor. So if you want to come to Dame, you just have to pay a little bit more.
Exactly, and they already know SMP trumps everything. So if I got a first session trying to come in here and give me $3,000 on Friday morning, that's the only day they can come. Hey guys, I'm gonna have to reschedule y'all. This SMP is coming in. So
Oh, I get it. I
they know
get it.
it takes precedence over everything.
Which it should, right?
For sure,
Now,
man.
so you got your new suite. Who did you originally train with when you started SMP?
So I trained with Taylor down in Miami.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started with Taylor down there back in, I don't know, 3 years ago almost. So
Okay.
I think May would be 3 years that I went and trained with Taylor.
You're doing very well. You're doing very well. And was that did he do your head as well, or who ended
Yes.
up doing you?
Yeah,
Okay.
he did mine when I was down there, man. So my initial SMP investment, man. So between the class, getting my head done, going down to Miami, all in was about 12 grand initially.
People don't understand. I know what you mean because I spent a lot of money like that too. But some people, because that's a year, maybe 2 years of college. Community college that pays for definitely 2 years.
Yeah,
You know what I
man.
mean?
Definitely an investment, man. I decided to invest in myself, my education. I think the class all in at that time, I might have paid like 5,500 with the equipment. It was definitely top tier pricing compared to the way that some of the classes are being priced now. And then I paid full price for my head as well, another 3 grand. So I couldn't come back after taking the class, still rocking a bald head and not having SMP. So I made myself a walking advertisement.
Okay. Oh, so you took the class and then went back later to get it done?
Well, no, I took the class, the initial 2 day training, and then I stayed an extra day for his next class. He had another class that week, and I was the on the day
The
one whenever he
model?
did the client. I was a model for him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and
Nice.
I should have talked to him about the model price. I didn't know nothing about a model price at that time. I paid full price. But
Well,
no, it came
but
out
did
good,
he
man.
do the rest of your procedure though when you did your second session and all that?
No, yeah. So he did the whole thing.
Okay.
I
Okay.
was a day one model just for him to do basically day one, just show the students how SMP, how it's done.
Oh,
So the
okay.
students didn't work on me. It was all done by him. And then I went back for a second and third session as well.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
yeah, so that's what I tell people, man. You gotta invest in yourself. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, then it's just this isn't for you for sure.
I agree. What kind of got you into SMP? Did you just see it on Instagram? Were you a confident as a bald guy? How did it go?
So for me, I didn't necessarily mind rocking the bald head because the way I look right now is pretty much how I always looked haircut wise. I had a really low haircut with a bald fade. That was my high school haircut, military haircut. So when I transitioned into a bald head, it wasn't that big of a difference. Plus, I was the guy that always wore a hat, always. Um, So having a bald head really wasn't that big a deal. If I wasn't getting into the SMP industry, I probably never would have got it myself personally.
Okay.
But now that I got it, I love it.
I know.
I definitely wouldn't change it. But I had a lady in the suite next to me when I first got in salon loss back in 2016. That's when I first learned about SMP. She was doing the microblading, micro shading. She was doing the lashes, all of that stuff. And she was like, "Hey, Dame, there's a new service out here, Scalp Micropigmentation. They're doing head tattoos." And this was 2016. I'm like, man, who's gonna get that? I'm not about to spend $5,000 to go take a class on something that nobody's gonna get because I couldn't see the vision just yet.
Mhm.
So it took me a few years. So a few years comes down the line. It's still on my radar. I'm seeing it more and more on social media. And then at that point, it was during COVID, and I was getting ready to invest in a larger barbershop. And COVID was a little uncertain at the time. So instead of taking that money I had put aside and investing in the bigger barbershop, I decided to invest in me and this new service.
Smart move. It's a
Yeah,
smart
it
move,
worked out
right?
good.
Changed your life.
For sure, man. That's what I tell my students, man. I had my initial $12,000 investment back within 3 months of doing SMP.
Isn't that
But
great? See, that's what I like to hear. I love to hear it because there's a lot of people who take SMP
never
courses,
do it.
pay a bunch of money, but they don't go hard. They,
Don't.
I think they underestimate how much time it requires not only to get good, but to also just bring in people,
For sure,
right?
for sure.
The marketing it's a never-ending battle for me, and I'm sure you see that too. It's
Yeah, man.
nonstop marketing, always marketing, coming up with new ideas. Instagram changes its algorithm. Now you got to do it this way.
Yeah.
And that every year the most money I spend is always on marketing. More
Yeah,
than
for sure.
rent, more than mortgage, more than all that. It's marketing costs.
Yeah. If you want to bring in clients, you got to pay for the marketing. You got to.
Eh,
Got to.
some people don't realize that or they're not
No.
willing to spend it, but
Yeah.
it takes money to make money, unfortunately.
Definitely, man. And when it comes to S&P, that's what I tell my students, man. It's not gonna walk through the door. I've never had a walk-in for S&P like I have in the barbershop. So most of the people that take the course, my course anyway, are barbers. And I let them know, that initial hustle that you had whenever you got out of barber school to get booked and busy, how you was grinding, passing out flyers, going hard, doing a lot of posting, getting content. And then once you are a busy barber, you get to slow down some because you already got your clientele established. But in S&P, you never get to slow down. You got to go full throttle all the time. So the marketing is never ending. I'm always wearing a Barber Ink Studios t-shirt, have my Instagram on the back, and
I love that.
got clients that way. Everywhere I go, that's all I wear. My dad, my daughter, no, I'm sorry, my son, I had on just a regular t-shirt without Barber Ink Studios on it. He was like, "Dad, where's your Barber Ink Studios clothes?" So that's all he ever sees. My wife's tired of seeing it, but it's free marketing.
Yeah, no, I agree. You gotta rep your brand. You
For
just gotta
sure.
keep getting the word out. And you're right. People have to think about this. They don't just walk in and say, "I'm gonna get it done." You gotta let it sit on their mind a little bit,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's a little expensive, and it's a big change. It's their head,
For
right? So
sure.
I thought about it for a while. So how many kids do you have?
Two, man, two. How many you have?
I have 2. Yep, my daughter, who's 4 months, who we talked about before we
Right.
got on air, and then my son is 3. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I got a 3-year-old son, and man, it's not for the weak. I tell you,
Is
little
he My
boy.
son is so hyper. I don't
Yes,
know about
he has
yeah,
no
he's
chill. So my daughter's 10 and my son is 3. So they're 7 years apart. My daughter was easy. She listened. She did what she was told. Perfect little angel. Now that she's getting a little older, that little attitude is starting to develop. But my son, he doesn't listen worth nothing. He doesn't care about getting in trouble, getting his tablet taken away. He's just hyper all the time. But I guess he might get that from me, man, because I was probably a hard-headed kid too. But
uh,
second and first child are totally different.
yeah, and it's funny you say that. I told my wife that, I mean, I was hyper kid, he's probably gonna be hyper. He's probably gonna have to learn the hard way on a lot of things. No matter
Oh
how
yeah,
much we tell him, he don't he's gonna have to get hurt, unfortunately.
for sure. That's what I tell my wife. She's ready to baby him. I'm like, nah, he's all right. Let him
Yeah.
cry it off. Let him shake it off. As long as there's nothing too severe, he'll be all right. Because if you play into it, he'll get sad and start crying just because you worried about him. But if you don't pay him no attention, he'll shake it off and go do it again.
Hey, dads, if you're listening to this, Dame is 100% right on that.
Yeah, man.
You
You
gotta
gotta
let
raise these boys to be men.
exactly. It's very important. There's a lot of soft kids out there. Lot of soft grown men raising even softer kids.
Here in 2024, man, I'm trying to make sure I'm raising a man. So
I agree. I agree 100%. Are you guys watching, on Paw Patrol or Blippi? What do you got? What's he watching?
Oh man, he likes watching dinosaur shows. There's this little alien show on Netflix he likes to watch.
Okay.
Jurassic Park, stuff like that. We don't do none of the Coco Melon and stuff. None of those. He does a
Okay.
little bit of Blippi. I think he might do that with Mom. I don't know nothing about Blippi. Paw
Oh,
Patrol for sure. I used to watch that with my daughter, so now I'm watching it with my son. It's like history repeating itself.
yeah, and it's a good show. They have good
Hmm.
lessons. There's some kids shows that you're like, this is really weird. I don't want you
Yeah,
watching this. But some of them, it's like they're teaching them things
yeah,
that they should learn anyway.
they do. But
Uh,
some of them teach some bad habits too, so you got to monitor what they're watching.
I
Because my son
know.
will say something, I'm like, man, where did you hear that? We don't say that, or he'll try to throw a fit and say, oh, I don't love you anymore. Like, where do you
I
hear that
know.
from? So this had to be from some show that you was watching that we didn't know about. So we gotta make sure we monitoring that because you don't know what some of these shows are gonna be saying to these kids.
Oh yeah, we have same thing, same thing. He'll say something. I'm like, how the hell do you even know that?
Exactly.
Where did you learn that? Where did you hear? And there's just so much content for kids to consume. And plus, he might overhear me talking. Or I've had that
Exactly.
issue where he's dropped the F bomb, and I'm like, damn, because I'll tell my dog, shut the fuck up, and I don't realize I'm telling my dog that, and he hears it, and the next day he'll say it, and I'm like, oh man.
Man, look, I was in the military, man. So for me, and being from the South and the way I grew up, cussing is second nature. Every other sentence, I'm throwing cuss words in there. And I'm trying to do better as I'm getting older and I have kids, but my wife is definitely on me all the time. Like, why you got to say that? Don't say this. They're listening to everything, and they are. So they will repeat you in a minute, especially the younger ones.
It's a hard habit to break, Dame, right? It is a hard you gotta basically self-monitor yourself. I gotta be aware, I gotta be aware. Okay, don't I try my best. I really do. Sometimes it slips out.
It definitely
But
does, man.
what's your guys' work-life balance then? If you got the 3-year-old, I mean, I know you're putting in a shit ton of hours for SMP and marketing and all that. What's that like?
Man, well, the good thing about SMP, man, is actually opened up my schedule a lot. So whenever I
Okay.
was cutting hair, let's say 5, 6 days a week, I'm all day, every day. I'm gone those days. But SMP, I might come to work and work 3, 4 hours, and now I got the rest of the day to do whatever I need to do. And
And you could do the marketing at your house.
exactly. And then,
Yeah.
so I might get some content here, and then I go home and I edit the video while I'm sitting there watching a show with the fam or something like that. And there were times, especially in the beginning, man, where SMP consumed me. S&P completely consumed me. Like it's not quite as bad now, but when I first started, this is how serious I was about making this my new career. I went to sleep thinking about it. I dreamed about it. I woke up thinking about it. At night, I would fall asleep. My phone would hit my face while I'm trying to edit videos. I'm falling asleep. So it was real crazy like that first year. Me and my wife, we definitely had several conversations about me being more present because I was either talking about SMP, doing something SMP related. She was tired of hearing about it. She didn't want to hear the word scalp micropigmentation like at all. She was tired of it. But that's what I tell my students, man. You have to be obsessed about this if you really want to break into the industry. Because there's
Fuck
so many
yeah.
people getting into it now and watering it down. And if you're really not going to apply yourself and go all in on it, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to get any motion going whenever it comes to trying to get clients. So it was
I know
definitely
exactly what you mean about the addiction to SMP. I 100% know what
I've
you mean.
seen your
You can't
video
help it, but that's because you took it serious. That's because you take it serious.
for sure, for
You were
sure.
dedicated. You're 100% dedicated, and that's for people listening, that is what it takes, especially now because there's so many people training and getting trained. I mean, it's even more difficult now than when you first started. When I first started,
Yeah,
you
man.
have to be. I mean, I think about all the people, I keep wanting to say kids, all the new people trying to learn SMP and breaking in 2024 and 2025. I mean, there's a lot of competition on top of
Yeah.
it. Even though there's not that much competition, there is at the same time, if that
Yeah,
makes
there
sense.
isn't. Because you're gonna have a ton of people certified. Like, let's just say this person went to a class and it had 20 students in it. I guarantee you, maybe only one of those 20 students are actually doing SMP or even learned enough to where they can take this skill back home and actually do it.
Yeah.
Because so many people are putting these big classes together, and I don't think it's personal enough for students to actually learn what they need to learn.
Yeah, I was just talking to Donna from Vancouver SMP, from Flawless
Yeah,
SMP. We're just talking about that. These big classes. I think big classes are good if it's extra, if it's a master class where you're learning
yeah,
something. But if it's your initial class, and you think you're gonna get one-on-one time with the instructor? Like, I know for me personally, if I'm teaching more than even 5 people,
Hmm.
I wanna give face time. I want them to ask me as many questions as possible. You know,
Exactly.
I don't wanna be spread thin. Uh, I know that I wanted one-on-one training, so I paid extra when I initially learned because I was like,
Exactly.
I wanna ask them because that's how I am.
Exactly, man. So whenever I took my class, it was 4 people. Um, it was
That's
a
good.
smaller class, so I got to learn, enough to get started. But there was still a lot I didn't know because I took a 2-day class versus I'm offering a 3-day class.
Mhm.
So if you got 20 plus people in a 2-day class environment, they're not gonna grasp this industry like they probably should. Now, from a master class perspective, everybody already knows what's going on and they know what to do. They're just there getting extra game, then that's a little different. But just initially, I wouldn't recommend nobody doing one of those classes because you're gonna leave just still lost in the sauce.
I completely agree. I completely
And no
agree.
shade to nobody. If you're doing a 2-day class with 30 people, great for you. You're doing awesome. You're making money. Your marketing is probably great, but I don't think your students are learning everything they probably need.
Yeah, and I'm sure the people doing that are aware of it, you know?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure I honestly think if I'm the student, I'm gonna do my homework and I should know I'm signing up for a bigger class. So
mhm,
this I'm gonna need to continue my education. This should not be your end all be all. You know what I mean?
for
That
sure.
initial it's more like think of it as like maybe an introductory to
Yeah,
SMP.
yeah,
You can think of it like that. Um, that's good stuff. That's good stuff, Dave.
yeah, man.
So where are you living at now? So are you living actually in the city of Charlotte?
Yes, I'm in Charlotte. Yep.
Okay. It's beautiful, beautiful town, right?
Yeah, it's a good city,
It's
man. Good to raise a family in, up and coming. It's starting to get a lot busier now. So,
I
a lot of people from up north are moving down here. I can't
it's rated super high. Like I personally have a cousin who moved down there. What's it, Raleigh? Is it Raleigh?
Yeah, Raleigh, yeah, a couple hours away.
Yeah, he moved down there. People love North Carolina is rated. It's always in like the top 5 places to move.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
all
so for me, North Carolina, well, especially in Charlotte, the prices have skyrocketed. But then you have people moving here from New York and New Jersey or Philly, and they're like, man, this is so cheap because they already used to paying crazy amounts up there. So they get down here and it's 2,500 or 3,000 for rent, and they're like, oh yeah, this is a good price. But everybody that's from here or been living here for a while, they're like, man, everything's skyrocketing.
Hey, but if you got in before they got there, you're
No, yeah,
you
for
know,
sure, for sure. That's my only knock on Charlotte, man. The infrastructure isn't growing quite as fast as the people are moving in. Like
uh,
the houses, the apartments,
you
everything's
feel
getting
really
put up.
crowded.
It's starting to get there. Traffic's
Yeah.
starting to get bad. The road system, everything's just not growing quite as fast as the living spaces are being put up. But other than that, man, I have no complaints. Charlotte's been good to me. It's
Let
a
me
good
ask you
place for
another
what I do.
question. Is there a big, because you know all these like mega cities, Philly, New York, LA, Seattle, they got a big homeless problem. Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Is there a homeless problem in
Nah,
Charlotte?
for sure, man, for sure. You're gonna see
Yeah.
somebody on every corner holding up a sign. You're
Okay.
gonna see tents on the side of the road. It's literally everywhere, man. I don't think you're gonna go to no major city and not see it.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
It's crazy,
Um,
man.
so you see the industry growing. We kind of touched on that.
For
How
sure.
how do you feel about? And I've been asking people this question, so just your thoughts. How do you feel about S? Because right now you can basically, at least in Delaware, you could take an SMP course and then you could just go do SMP. I mean, you got to get a license, a tattoo license. All you have to do is pay like
Right.
$100. Do you think it should be more regulated, like the tattoo industry or like the barber industry? How do you feel about that?
Yes and no, man. Because I don't know. After I took my SMP course, if I would have had to go, like a lot of places with a tattoo permit, you got to go shadow somebody or for a year before you can get a license and stuff. I wouldn't have liked that personally, but it's not necessarily a terrible idea either, because so many people like I've had people that's come talk to me and had conversations with me after taking somebody else's class, and they still didn't know how to set up a station. They didn't know that they were supposed to wrap their machine up. So it's hard to say, but in North Carolina, it's much like your area, man. All you gotta do is fill out the application, send it to the health department, call health department, hey, send in the application, pay your fee, and then they'll set up the inspection date. You pass the inspection, you got a tattoo permit with you had to have no prior experience. So I don't know, man. It could go both ways. What
I
about you?
completely, yeah, I agree with you. I agree that there are benefits, right? But it would also be a pain in the ass if I was the new person coming in. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh man, I gotta do all this shit. But
exactly.
I But you know, you see a lot of people with getting jacked up jobs. They watch clips on YouTube or something on how to do SMP, or they're just
Mhm.
not getting the proper training. But I really do think it comes down to the individual students need to do their homework
Yes,
before they pick someone. Because if you're just shopping for the lowest price, you're going to get a lower
you're gonna get the lower
quality.
quality for
Yep.
sure. Same thing with SMP, man. If you're going to the $500 SMP artist versus the guy that's charging, industry standard 2,500, 3,000 or better, then your work is probably gonna look that way. Like I got a friend down in Miami, well, a couple guys I know down there, and they'll tell me, we keep having to lower our prices and lower our prices to compete with the barbershop across the street, doing it for 250 a session. So
Wow.
some SMP artists are going out of business depending on the area. Where I'm at in North Carolina, I mean, there's a few people, but no real competition.
Yeah, yeah, and there's enough to and honestly, there's enough bald people to go around, right?
Man, that's
There's
what I'm telling
plenty of
people.
bald people to go around.
I tell people that all the time. They're gonna like, hey, are we gonna run out of clients? I'm like, no, because people are going bald every day. You're not
Yeah.
gonna lose out on clientele.
Did you so after you trained with, Taylor, who did you do any more training with anybody else, or how'd
Yeah,
that
man.
go?
So about a year into it, I went up to Maryland at the Art of SMP and did a master class slash shadow, well, more of a shadowing with Chris.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I took a few things from there, to add to what I already do. Like I said, it's more of a shadowing kind of thing. You could pick the brain, but it wasn't like a class.
Yeah, I know what he offers.
Yeah.
It's a good deal too. It's exactly kind of what you need. If you already know what you're doing, you
Yeah.
shadow him, you ask him a bunch of questions, you learn,
Exactly.
you get to see him do it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did, man. So other than that, man, I'm not opposed to it. I tell my students all the time, you can never stop learning. Education is definitely key. And my next master class is going to be with somebody probably that specializes more in the natural hairlines. Just to see maybe how they do it, because most people that come see me want the barbershop lineup, and I feel like I got that down. So I wouldn't want to train with one of those type of people again. Even though there are some really dope artists out here, like Jesse Lima, I thought about going check him out just because I really like his work.
Yeah.
But it's kind of similar to what I'm already doing. So I would probably go more that natural route.
I've noticed a lot of you barbers. Now I identify as a barber, but I never went to barber school. Like I've been cutting hair for
Okay.
20 years. But you guys who actually did the barber school and worked in shops and everything, you guys also I like how you go to other barbers kind of that switch to SMP and learn their technique. I
No, for
like
sure,
that.
for sure.
And now with the natural hairline, I personally hate doing the sharp line edge up. I talk about all the time. I'll do it. I can do it. I
Yeah.
can make it look really, but it's not fun for me
Right.
as where when I do the natural hairline, I have more freedom. I pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, to
Yeah.
me,
See,
the
it's
straight line edge
opposite
up
for
is a
me.
pain in the ass.
Yeah, for me it's opposite, man, because because that's what I'm doing in the barbershop. So this came second nature, drawing a straight hairline and really laying it down. And that's why people come see me because that's what they want. I pretty much gotten to the place where I got people flying in from all over the country, which is definitely a
That's
great
awesome.
feeling.
Congrats.
No, it's definitely a great feeling. Appreciate it, man. Like you got somebody flying in, catching the Uber from the airport to the studio, then they're going right back to the airport after they get their session. So, it's really cool. But I haven't really tapped into that natural market yet. I do them. I definitely do them. I love doing them, but I don't get a lot of them because of most of my marketing is not going to be that.
But you're about the more you do it, the more you'll get, right?
For sure.
So
I want
the
to, just like when I was cutting hair, man, I wanted to cut every hair texture. Same thing with SMP, man. I want to tap into every market. I want to do everybody's head. So I don't want to. I want to make sure I don't put myself in a box because then just be known for doing one thing. You
I
definitely want to be
agree.
a diverse artist.
I agree. So what products are you using?
So ink wise, I'm using Follicule. That's pretty much my go-to Follicule. They're
Okay.
brown and black, and then needles. I'm using the Ink U Jade needles.
Okay, using InkU, and I
Yeah,
saw you're with InkU now. And were you with somebody else at some point?
yeah, man. I was with FYT for about a year.
How did you pull that off? I gotta ask. How the hell did you? There are guys who've been in the industry who are very good who don't get the FYT.
I don't know, man. They reached out to me. Uh,
Really?
yeah, man, they reached out to me. They were cool. Again, no issues or ill will or nothing. But for me, the product just wasn't working the way I would wanted it to. So it's kind of hard to push it. And there's contractual, not even necessarily contractual obligations, but things that we had in place. For being a sponsored artist, you should get this and da da da. And some of the sponsorship side of things wasn't being held up. So that's whenever I had the conversation with the guys at InkU, and I like their products a lot. So I went
I
with
love
them.
Jarrell. I love Jarrell.
Yeah. What about you? What are
Um,
you using?
Thank you. I use them all, people. I use them all. Send me your free shit.
Yeah,
I don't
I mean,
want to
there's
be
some good
tied.
products
No,
out
but I
there.
do. I'll be honest. I use FYT. I use InkU. I use Art of SMP. Chris has a great product as well. Those are pretty much my three staples. I also use Cheyenne, the Cheyenne needles,
Never
and
used
there's all.
those.
And I even use this Chinese needle when I'm in a cram and I got to order
Yeah.
something on Amazon.
Oh yeah, my Amazon crunch time needle was the box of masks that came on
Oh yeah,
Amazon.
Matt, Mass are good. Hey,
Yeah,
they do the job.
yeah, that was my crunch time. Like my needles hadn't come in time, and Amazon is gonna be here tomorrow. So
Yep.
if I got to pull those out, I will. But for the
I
most
have.
part, right now it's all InkU jade needles.
Yeah, and they're great. They're great,
Yeah.
and I'm happy for InkU and Jarrell and Eric and all those guys.
Hmm.
Uh, if you ever go up to New York, I'll go up there,
Yeah, for
check it
sure,
out.
man.
I saw that you went to Atlantic City. So what was that show about? What was that?
Atlantic City was cool, man. That was their first year back, I think, since the pandemic. And for that being the first year being back after being gone for so long, it was definitely a good turnout. So
Were you the only SMP artist?
yes, so they, the guys
Good
that
for
put on the,
you.
yeah, man. So the guys that put on the show reached out to me, invited me out. They seen my work. They seen that I was at the show here in Charlotte, the Barberville show. And they seen some of the content from that, and they hit me up, invited me out. I seen Jay Majors was hosting it, so I was like, yeah, that's probably gonna be a dope show. And I went out there. Me and the wife went out there and made a weekend out of it for Halloween. So it was definitely a good time. It was my first time ever going to Atlantic City, so it was a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I go every year. I've been going every
Okay.
year for like, I don't know, 7 years. Yeah, I love Atlantic City. That's why I asked. I honestly think I think Atlantic City could pull off an SMP Expo or a scalp show.
Yeah,
Uh, it has the capacity to hold that much people.
for sure. Yeah, they got the capacity.
Yeah.
I guess I had a little higher hopes because I've never been. I just know what I've seen on TV and heard.
Yeah.
But excuse me,
Didn't expect the brown water?
no, man. So my clients from up north, they was telling me, man, that's basically like for the New York, New Jersey people or surrounding areas, that's y'all Myrtle Beach. So for us, we'll go to Myrtle Beach. So I don't really think much or expect much of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
But I guess the only thing that I wasn't expecting going out there, I guess COVID hit everybody hard. There was so many boarded up and shut down buildings and businesses.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. So Atlantic City almost kind of shut down at like 10 years ago. And then this billionaire came in and he started fixing the hotels and stuff. But you
Yeah,
still have a lot of there's you can like me and my wife will go down the boardwalk with my son, in the stroller and all that. And it's kind of like a family place, but occasionally a crackhead will pop out of the woodworks. You know what I
definitely.
mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
like
And
I
I
don't
didn't know
really
how
mess
long
with
that
you.
strip was, man, because we walked from one end to the other and it took forever. I
Yeah.
guess I was expecting more like Vegas, everything on top of each other and real close, but it's definitely spread out.
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of hotels right along
Yeah.
the strip, but it's like the
It was
appeal.
cool
Would you
though.
want to go to Vegas or Atlantic City? Atlantic City, it's just close and convenient.
Much
You're paying for the
closer.
convenience.
Yeah, much closer. It was a good time though. I'd never been, man. So it was a good time. We went to some crazy Halloween party out there. It was definitely fun.
Nice. What how do you see or what are your future concerns about SMP? Do you have any? Are you worried that we're gonna run out of or there's gonna be too many artists, too much competition?
I mean, the only concerns I have, man, is people just not being trained properly. Just putting out really bad work. So people that are bald are already self-conscious about it. A lot of times that's why they get an SMP. They already have a stigma about being bald. They miss having that look of having a nice haircut. So then they'll go somewhere and they'll get a really bad botched job and they'll want you to fix it. And sometimes you can't. So that's that. I see it going that way a lot. I'm seeing more and more, not so great work. So I hope that training definitely, is taken seriously whenever people do it, whenever they offer the training, and whenever people actually go get trained. And for the students, make sure they're practicing, not just going straight to a head, never picking up your machine after class. And it's been 3 months since you took the class, and now you're working on the head. You never touched the skin or melon or did no practice. So I don't know, man. I can't say it's gonna be oversaturated because I would say for every 10 people that takes a class, maybe one sticks with it.
That sounds about right. That sounds about
So
right.
I
I
can't
agree.
say it's gonna be oversaturated with actual artists because a lot of them don't stick with it. They don't want to. They don't understand the grind that it really takes to be successful, man. So I don't think it'll be oversaturated to where we won't have any more clients to go around for everyone. But no, I definitely hate seeing the bad work being put out.
I know, and then when they come to you to try and fix it, you're like,
Yeah,
sometimes I might charge even a little bit more, like if it's that jacked up, if or send them to get a laser session or two,
yeah. Now, I've never
because
had
that's
nobody.
what you got to do.
I never had nobody actually get laser session and come to me after, but I've advised people to do so. And then I never heard from them again. So
It's painful. So what I've
yeah,
heard is it's very painful
oh, I heard
to
it
get it
hurts.
done,
Yeah, I heard it hurts. I think I
and
seen a
it's
video where Jerome got it right.
did he get laser? Maybe he did at one point. I'm not sure.
I I thought I saw a video. I could be wrong, but I heard it hurts a lot more than actually getting SMP.
Yeah, it looks brutal, and sometimes you have to get more than one session of the laser, like, if they went
Yeah.
too deep with it.
No, yeah, for sure. So what about you, man? Did you have any concerns on the industry?
So, my concern in regards to the industry, it's similar to basically the training situation, the training, people not being properly educated and then going around and messing up people's heads. That's my main concern. Uh, I also think about the industry. I see a lot of, and luckily I'm not in any beefs, okay? I don't know if you are. You don't need to disclose it if you don't want to. I'm not in any beefs. I don't have any problems with any SMPRs, but I do see a lot of things that I think could be handled better amongst artists.
Hmm.
And I don't like to see that. I don't like to see that because I feel the more that if we all stick together and kind of work as a team to spread the word about SMP, the better it's going to be for everybody. We're all going to make more money because SMP is still not mainstream. It's, you know, and like I've said in the video, Joe Rogan, The Rock, or somebody, Jason Statham, so an A-list celebrity needs to get SMP and then talk about it
Yeah,
before it's going to go, mainstream. That's my concern is it ever going to go mainstream?
yeah,
And then another thing is there's no long-term studies. There's nobody out there with 30 years of SMP.
yeah,
There isn't. There maybe the oldest one is someone Giroux did or Matt or Paul Clark did 14, 15 years ago. That's
yeah,
probably the oldest procedure. Like me and you, we're guinea pigs. Everybody, if you think in that terms, is kind of a guinea pig. I don't know what this shit's going to look like in 20 years. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, I've seen some old work more online, but it just kind of fades out and just needs a touch up. But you're
And
right.
that's what I've seen. The oldest I've seen was 10 years. It just which is a good scenario. It kind of fades out, like you said. It fades
Hmm.
out, and then you just get a touch up.
Yep. But you never know. And
Yeah.
then especially when they first started, what inks were they using? Things have changed a lot, even in the past 2 years with ink and needles. Like 04s wasn't being used for real, for real. Whenever I got trained almost 3 years ago, it was 6 and 8. Now the 4 needle came on the scene, in the past couple of years, and it might have been around before that, but wasn't nobody really talking about it. And then ink wise, you had to, most people was just taking like a world famous or something like that and mixing, orange and reds and making their own colors. But it's definitely changed a lot. So
I've had, I think, 11 or 12 sessions on my head. I got my SMP in 2016, and I've
okay,
had 11 or 12 sessions, and I didn't get a modifier used on my head till like last year or the year
yeah.
before.
Did you ever have any problems with it turning?
No,
Over?
no, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. I never had any
Okay.
problems. I always took care of my stuff though.
Yeah,
I always used lotion. It never turned blue or green or nothing like that.
yeah,
The thing is you gotta dilute it. If you're gonna use super black, if you're gonna use just straight black ink, you gotta dilute it with the water,
yeah, for sure.
you know.
That's pretty much how follicule is. You know,
Yeah.
even if I'm just putting a drop of water in it, I'm making sure I modify it in some way versus straight black.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you know,
You don't want to. There's too much carbon. There's too much
yeah,
carbon. Then it will have like this. It won't look good. It won't look
yeah.
good.
So I've had good results with the follicle ink, man.
What was the hardest thing for you to learn becoming an SMP artist? Like the whole process when you first step in and you're doing heads by yourself. You know,
Oh,
what do you wish you kind of maybe practiced or learned a little bit more, or tried or researched?
man, color theory probably.
Yeah.
I think color theory was the biggest one because my first couple clients well were darker skinned guys, and I'm mixing up the ink how I thought I was taught to do it, and I'm making impressions. I'm doing it, and I wipe it down, and I'm not seeing nothing. I'm like,
Ah,
oh, what do I do? I'm just
I
like, all
get
right,
that.
man, yeah, yeah. Let's just take a break. Let me figure this out. I'm on Google. At that time I was trying to call Taylor, like, hey man, what am I doing wrong? I'm trying to get some help. But color theory, man, that was a big one for me. That was really big. So like I said, I might be using this medium or this dark, at the time world famous. Now I'm putting in some drops of some orange modifier or some red, and I'm trying to make it, I'd have used 6 drops. I probably should have used 2, or whatever the case is. I couldn't see the impressions. I was lost. But then you work on a really white guy. I'm talking about somebody pasty like me, and it come out way darker than you wanted it to. I'm like, oh snap, I didn't modify it enough. So it
Yeah.
was just a learning curve with the color theory. I think that was my biggest one.
It's scary too when you go from working on like a darker skin person and working on someone your skin tone. I
Mhm.
remember the first time I was like, "Oh man," because any little imperfection is going to be seen.
Oh
It's
yeah,
going to be seen.
yeah,
And I always start. So what I always do is I always start with a smaller needle. I'll use the 0.4, the 0.5, 0.15 micrometer, and then I'll use the lightest ink. And then depending on how it heals up, second session, I'll either use the same needle, go bigger, or and then I'll also darken the ink. I'll go another shade. So and then I keep. I don't
sure.
know if you do this, but I keep notes of every
Oh yeah.
session with every single person.
Exact. Every client I've ever done, and I probably need like an Excel spreadsheet or something, but they're in a notepad in my phone. Their name, the amount that they paid me, and what ink we use for first session, second session, and third if need be. That way you're not guess. It takes the guesswork out whenever they come back. Now I make sure I tell my students that too. Take notes, because if I got a guy come back to me after 2 years, he wants to touch up, I can look right in my notes, see exactly what we did, and I know where to make any changes from there.
It's so important. People, if you made it this far into the conversation, this is super important. If you're an up and coming SMP artist, keep notes on everybody. Keep notes, keep the needle you use, the size, how much
Everything,
water did you use, everything.
everything,
Because
everything.
trying to guess later, you're going to be like, oh shit, that didn't work. That combination did not work. Or it did work really well. I'm going to do it again.
Exactly. Lets me know, do I need to stay there? Do I need to make some changes? It definitely lets you know where you need to go. So I always keep notes that way, because the first session, we're laying down the blueprint. When they come
Mhm.
back, we're going to change that blueprint. We're going to maybe go with a bigger needle. We're going to go a few shades darker, but you won't know where to go with it because it's been a month or two since you've done it. And now they come back and, it just takes the guesswork out. You know exactly what to do next.
Yep. Do you like to start on this is a question. Do you like to start on the hairline or do you do the back of the head first?
I start in the middle of the head.
How
So I
so?
normally I normally break mine down into 3 sections for the most part. Front, middle, back. I give it divided up into 3 sections. I'll start in the middle and work my way towards the hairline. That
So do
way,
you have the person facing you, like they're like this, and then
uh,
you, or
my guys are in a tattoo chair. I'm sitting behind them just like this.
okay, okay,
So, and I'm working on the back of this second session, working my way up in rows. I pretty much go left to right, 1 inches in diameter, bottom to top, filling in the section, and I go up to the front section. I like to get my touch down and get a nice touch before I get up to the hairline. I feel like a lot of times if you start on the hairline and you don't really have the touch right for that skin, or you might even need to make some adjustments, and now you don't got a too dark of a dot here or something like that. I feel like it's best to start off the hairline, me personally.
I
Get some time
completely agree. I got to get my wrist warmed up, to be honest. I got to get
exactly.
my wrist warmed up a little bit before I start poking. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm the reason I asked that is because I was like, am I like the only person? Because I start on the back of the head, and then
Yeah.
I'll go to like about like right here, and
Uh-huh.
then after that, I'll do like a 10-minute break. Then I'll go in, I'll draw their hairline, then I'll do the hairline, and then I finish the top kind of last. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. That's
And
kind of how
yeah,
I do it.
there's a million different ways you could do it, and there's no right or wrong way. Like whenever I'm teaching my students, I'm telling them like, look, this is what I do. I just want you to take what I've taught you, and then you can modify it to what works best for you. But you know, this is how I do it. This is how I want you to do it. And then if you want to change up the way you do it, where you start at, you know, how big of sections you're doing, whatever the case is, then definitely modify it. But this is what's been working for me.
Yep. And I've changed my, I mean, sometimes I'll do the temple with them in the chair with their head like this. Sometimes I'll do
Yeah.
it laying down.
So how do you like the chairs with the head down?
So I have two chairs. I have two. So I have like I got this really nice, expensive chair because I was getting, to be honest, when you get people who are large humans, right? I had to get a hydraulic chair. You know,
Yeah.
I get big boys in here, you know, 300, 400 pounds. My shit can't break. So I had to get a hydraulic chair. That was about 2,500, 3,000, something like worth it though. It's like a dental PMU
Yeah.
chair. And then I also have the standard, you know, massage chair where you're sitting like this.
Yeah.
You know,
How do you like that one?
That's how Jerome only uses that. So
Yeah.
when you get your shit done up, because New York, the properties are smaller, right? So
Yeah.
he can't be putting so you do the whole procedure. I like that because then the person's like this,
Yes.
you know, head facing, their hands are crossed, and then you can see the hairline and you can work on the back of the head. And when I have to do a whole head, which I hate doing, by the way, if I got to do the back of the neck, behind the ears and all that,
That's a lot of work.
yeah, and you can kind of stretch them down a little bit because when you're doing it on that chair, you can't get a good stretch because you can put the face all the way down, so it pulls their neck nice and tight. Sorry for the audio people listening to that. I'm just Dame's watching me.
So what I'll do, man, I like a tattoo chair because I like to sit when I do it because I've been cutting hair over 10 years. I've been standing doing it for that long. And I know a lot of times when you come to those massage chairs where you got the head down, you know, you're standing up doing the procedure. I wanted to eliminate that and sit down for 90% of my procedure. Now, if I'm doing a full head like you were talking, then yeah, man, I either lay them face down and try to get to the back, or I'll have them sit back like in the chair that I'm in now, like my rolly chair that I sit in, and then have them put their neck down. But I thought about getting some of the massage chairs where they put the face in. Just
You
like
can still sit. You can still sit on it. It's funny you say that. So the massage chairs, when you're doing the back of the head, I sit. I just raise my seat up to the highest
Got
level.
you. Okay.
But then when I do the hairline, I'm actually sitting there. The only time I'm standing is when I have them in the full recline.
Got
like
you.
that.
I see a lot of guys that stand, so I haven't had that experience myself. So I used one time at a tattoo show, or at a barber show. Somebody brought a chair for me to use, and it was cool, but just not what I was used to.
You give them neck pillow?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, you gotta have the neck pillow.
Man, you know what I seen, man? I seen a guy online. This is a while back, but he's like, man, I gotta get a new neck pillow. Mine's full of ink, and I'm just like, well, why is it full of ink? You're not wrapping it up? He's like, no. I was just telling him, like, yeah, man, you're supposed to wrap your pillow, man. I hit it with saran wrap it all the way up, and then I put a pillow cover on it. Like, you can't just not wrap up your pillows. But yeah, definitely do that.
And wash it. You know what I mean? If you're not, take the thing off. And then it's like, how the hell are they getting the ink on there? Because if it's around your neck, unless it's like this part, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't remember when they start to spray it down. Maybe it's dripping. I don't even know.
Do you use Vasocaine?
What's that?
So do you have a redness reducer? So I was using a product called Vasocaine for a long
witch
time.
hazel, man.
What's it called?
Just a regular witch hazel.
I don't know what that is. Witch hazel?
Yeah, like alcohol that doesn't burn.
Okay. Does it take the redness away though too?
Yeah, it does. That's what I use for my redness reducer.
Okay.
You know, I haven't gotten into trying anybody's products yet, but that's what I've been using for me. Like it dulls it down just enough for me to get some good pictures for sure.
Yeah, and when you're working, if it's too inflamed, it's hard to see what you're doing, right? It's hard to.
Oh yeah. But what about you, man? Do you like any specifically?
I like the Vasocaine. I use that blue gel stuff too. Taylor Perry actually told me about that blue gel stuff. And you mix it in with the distilled water and you shake it up and you spray it. But I've been using Vasocaine, you know, since I started. But the thing about that is you need to, it's kind of the way you order, it's a pain in the ass. So I've learned that once I use all my Vasocaine, I'm just going to stick with the blue gel. I think that's how I'm going to do it. And it's more effective. You end up saving money because you can just take the dropper, drop it into distilled water, shake it up, and it ends up you save money long term. Long
Okay.
story short, you
Yeah,
save money
check
long term, people, if you use the blue gel.
have to check that one out, man. You got to send me a link.
Yeah,
Do
I'll
you,
take a picture of it when we're done. I'll send it to
okay.
you.
Do you use any kind of numbing creams?
Here's what in regards to numbing cream, I found that the people that I use numbing cream on versus the people that I don't use numbing cream on, the people that I used numbing cream on, when they come back, there's more fading than the people that I didn't. So for
Yeah.
that reason, I try to talk people out of using numbing cream, but if they have to use it, we'll use it.
Yeah. So I don't use it at all. I don't. I had a guy come in a couple weeks ago. He wanted a third session. Just come in and just hit it real quick, make it pop a little bit. And I could tell something wasn't right. I'm like, as soon as I started working, I'm like, man, did you put something on your head? He was like, how you know? I was like, I just know it's not working. Like I'm sitting here making impressions, I'm wiping it down, and nothing is not sticking at all. So whatever he put on his head, tattoo cream, numbing cream wise, it just completely numbed up that top layer of skin and killed the acceptance of ink. So he drove 2 hours here. He had to turn around and go home without a session because it wasn't working.
Ah, man. And then you kind of feel guilty about it,
Yeah.
even though you didn't do anything wrong.
I'm like, my bad, man, but ain't nothing I could do. There's no point in me punishing you because I can't even see the impressions when I wipe it down.
And to
So
be honest, it's not that bad. To
no,
me
for me
personally, I
it
mean, was it
wasn't.
that bad for your head?
No. So for me, it was more of a mild to moderate discomfort. Taylor's doing my head. I'm sitting there, we laughing, joking the whole time. But I've
Yeah.
also had some people that act like it was the worst thing that's ever happened to them. So I don't know.
I know, I know. I get that. I get them. And I get it after 3, 4 hours. Okay, yeah, it's a little irritable. But it's the hairline's the worst, and that ain't even that bad, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
For me, my worst part was probably the temple area coming down the
Okay.
side of the edge up. But everything else, man, it wasn't bad at all. The funny thing that happened during my procedure, I don't know if Taylor remembers this or not, but my left leg twitched the entire time, all 3 sessions. I don't know what he was doing in my head, what nerves he was hitting, but my left leg just twitched the entire time. And
That's happened. And now, has that ever happened to you when you're working on someone where
I had a
you're like,
client. I had a couple clients that happened to, and I had another guy. His eyes uncontrollably just twitched and blinked. We had to take breaks because his eyes was hurting from blinking so much from the nerves. Like it was crazy. It was crazy.
and no, I know what you mean. There's some people, I've gotten some characters, and that's part of the reason why I started the podcast, is because you end up talking one-on-one to people for hours,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure you do it. And doing SMP is not like the barbershop. There's not, 10 other people listening to your conversation. You're just by yourself.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure you've heard some crazy stuff, some
Oh
good
man,
stuff.
I heard some stuff I can't talk about, man. Uh, I heard some stuff that will get some people in trouble, man.
Yeah,
I definitely
yeah,
heard some
yeah.
things. And then
Oh
like my
yeah,
worst.
I hear about. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you got it.
I was just I've heard people, man, guys telling me about how they get caught cheating on their wife.
Oh
Stuff
yeah.
like that serious. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh
Oh
man,
yeah.
you telling.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. I definitely heard some of them stories. I had women telling me some of the same stuff. How they got caught cheating on their husband, how they caught their husband cheating on them, or whatever the case is. So I've gotten it all.
How do you feel about doing scar camo? Because that's a
I don't,
tough one for people.
I don't mind it at all. Like I get a lot of hair transplant guys come in,
Okay.
and we knock it out, no problem. I had one guy that his was just so bad. It was just so badly done, and it was just so thick and raised that you can conceal it, but it's still gonna be there. Like you can see the scar. Like
Yeah.
it was just poorly done. Like
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was like I guess older. But other than that, man, I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah, trying to match it up, right?
Yeah, man. I've
Uh
had other than scars, like it's also like when you got people with spots of alopecia in their head, that could be hard too. Because I had a guy come in pretty much spots all over his head like a Dalmatian, and you're trying to make all of that blend in with everything else. So that was some work. I had a guy with vitiligo come in, just white
oh wow,
spots all
you
over.
I haven't had a vitiligo person.
Yeah,
Was
I
it a
had one of
black person
those.
with vitiligo or a
Yeah,
white person?
it was a black guy with white spots all over. And
Wow.
I could still the best I can, man. We did 2 sessions and it came out pretty good. And that was early
Wow.
on. That's when I was first starting. So I was kind of a little nervous tackling that one. But it came out good.
Yeah, and the thing about those spot alopecia, it's like sometimes you want to just fill in the spot, and other times
Yeah.
it's like if I just fill in the spot, I'm gonna have to fill in like the rest.
Yeah.
It might end it up. It might be a small project that turns into a big ass project. You're like shit, I didn't charge him for
Yeah.
all that.
Exactly, man. So everyone's a little different. Like I'll do ladies who just have it on the sides of the head. They want to fill in their sides, the edges area, get that filled in. And I got some guys where it just affects their entire head. They'll have spots here, here, here. So you have no choice but to do the entire head. So it's, you know, you see a lot in this, you know, when you start doing SMP, man. You're gonna meet some great people, you're gonna meet some crazy people, you're gonna hear some good stories, some crazy stories. I don't know. I got everybody, man, from ex-cons to doctors. Like my wife was like, man, you have no specific clientele. Like I tell her a story about, okay, this guy's a doctor and da 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 da. And I tell her about this other guy that just did 10 years in prison. So she was like, bro, you get everybody.
Isn't it crazy? And that's why I love it. That's why I love it. Same thing with me. You know, I get doctors, lawyers, and then I had a guy who did 20 years, 20 years. And I'm like, God damn, that's Jesus. Well, I'm glad you're getting SMP.
Most times whenever a guy's done a long bid like that, 5, 10, 20 years, you could tell. But I've had a couple people come in and, you know, you would never know if they didn't tell you. Like they just carry themselves differently, I guess, than the people that maybe, you know, had that institutionalized mindset stay with them. But it just like some people you would just never know. Like you did 10 years? Like what did you do? And you know, you know, you meet everybody, man.
You really do. And that's what's so great because hair loss isn't specific to any one type of person. You know, a lot of people suffer in silence from hair loss and they want a solution.
For sure.
I think one of the hardest things, because I'll go on these, do you know what Reddit is? The Reddit app?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never used it.
It's mainly like nerds on there, I'll be honest. And anyway, so you go on there and there's this, check this out. It's called Tressless. I'll send it to you after this.
Okay.
But you could go on there and you can see people talking about SMP or talking about hair loss. And whenever I bring up SMP, oh man, sometimes I get attacked by the nerds. I'll get attacked. Oh, it's not real. And then I make my counter argument about hair transplants, you know, being ineffective and blah, blah, blah. But I just think the more people that we educate that, okay, yeah, you get a hair transplant, but you're not going to look 16 anymore. Like you might get a hairline, but it's not going to be thick and full. SMP, if you're not satisfied with the hair transplant, you can also get SMP. I just think continuing to educate potential clients is all of our jobs. And I think you're doing a fantastic job at that. I really do.
Man, I appreciate it. And I tell people all the time, man, especially guys I do consultations with that are torn between getting a transplant or SMP. I'll tell them, man, okay, if you want to get the transplant, that's fine. But you're going to be contacting me for SMP because it's not going to be as full as you're thinking. Like, you know, everyone's level of hair loss is different. If you catch it early, then yes, it'll look great. But if you're one of them guys where it's just already got a horseshoe at the top and there's nothing up there, they're not going to be able to pull enough hair follicles from the back of your head to make that look full. So SMP.
Don't you think Jeff Bezos would have it?
Look, this is always my argument when it comes to hair loss. If LeBron hasn't figured it out, then we definitely won't, because he's been trying to figure this thing out for 20 years. And I'm pretty sure he had a hair transplant and it's still thin.
So, yeah, he needs SMP on top, to be honest.
I think it will compliment him very well.
Oh my God, it would help all of us. Please.
But please. Right. It would spread awareness. And a lot of people, you know, they think SMP, they're thinking it's a tattoo. You're just going to black out their head. And I try my best to educate the clients like, hey, it is a hair tattoo. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But if it's done right, it's going to like you got a nice fresh haircut. But some people hear tattoo and they're just scared off. You know, then from there, I just kind of send them some work, look at the videos, and then let them make a decision from there.
Great stuff. Thank you, Dame. What is your, this has been great. What is all your contact? What's your website, your Instagram, all that stuff?
Okay, so barberinkstudios.com. That's the website. Instagram, TikTok is going to be at Barber Named Dame.
Barber Named Dame. All right, Dame.